So, setting the game speed to frozen again because we're explaining time yet again. Building a station opens you up for more profit, but because you are supplying service to a town that hasn't had any railway service before, you can charge extra for the service for the first fiscal year or fiscal period, I should say. Which means that if you build a new station in December of the second year of a fiscal period, you gain 1 month of double profits. If you want to set up new stations, you want to line up the track and then wait for the rollover of a fiscal year, then build the station. For that first fiscal year of a new station being built, you will earn twice the amount of revenue from any cargo delivered. It is something to be very mindful of because it can make a huge difference. But the consideration we have now is the fact that because of the way that rail is set up right now, we can easily have a train going from Durham to Harrogate. But if suddenly we want to have a train delivery to Darlington, we can't just connect. The train can't do a U-turn or anything. It will have to go all the way down to Harrogate first and then back up to Darlington. So we need to see if we can connect the rails in such a way. I'm not sure it will allow this. I'm fairly sure it won't. It would. So now train can go from Darlington to Durham and from Harrogate to Durham and from Durham to Harrogate and so on and so on. Why is that important? Why couldn't I just leave it the way it was before? And there's a very good reason for that. This game contains the chance of receiving priority orders, priority shipment. It could be some passengers that need to get to a football match or whatnot. Ignore the fact that it took them 7 months to arrive at the football match. It's a little incentive for you to perform better. Usually what happens is the game will give you a priority order that you can't easily, if you just always only have the tracks open for one-way services, that you can't easily quickly manipulate around in such a way that you can actually deliver them to where they want to be delivered. Trust me, you make a coal supply depot somewhere out in the middle of nowhere where you have the track running left, right, and center 250 times on the way there. Suddenly they will need to get passengers there. Trust me, it never fails. Of course, you could just ignore the priority orders, but the priority orders, they usually come with a huge bonus for succeeding if you succeed in a timely fashion. Actually, to the point that when you get a priority order, what I do is I build a new train to deal with that one specific priority order exclusively and then retire the train afterwards. But it's just something to bear in mind that always having the doors open for two-way train travel. The way it was set up before, a train needing to go from Durham to Darlington would have to go to Harrogate first. So, again, I am very good at over-explaining things, but for the moment, this will have to do. So we can go back and set the game speed to moderate yet again. No, moderate. You know what? I want to get some more stock. Leaves us a bit less cash on hand, but this doesn't matter. I hope. That train was empty. Not good. Not what I'd hoped for. Okay. It dropped rather dramatically. Oh well, I suppose. Whatever. Smart. So, if you go into reports now and you can look at the balance sheet, you can see we lost 230,000 on our treasury stock. So we have to make that up alone just to start showing a profit for the fiscal year. But game speed, frozen. We now want to build a station in Durham. Don't worry, we can work around with negative cash. Not for extended periods of time, but you can definitely do it. So let's get a station here. Durham offers to purchase 10,000 shares of your stock at 15. You know what? This is an offer you can get. It basically adds more stock to the available stocks. So if you're trying to buy yourself up, you can potentially delay it. But you know what? Getting that extra money here now might not be such a bad idea. So let's do that. The suppliers are not amazing, but they will still pay for any amount of mail and passengers that we deliver. So even though they only supply 2 cars, if we had 40 cars of passengers to deliver, they would happily take them. The important thing is they demand it. It doesn't matter. They don't demand 1 car per year. They demand it. That's the overriding factor. So of course we need a little choo-choo to actually go there. So we will be building yet another planet. We will be building yet another planet. I was saying, come on. For the time, it will just be running between Durham and Darlington. And surprise, it's going to be a mail and passenger car setup yet again. No thanks. So, Durham, come on, please, thank you. And it's heading to Durham, indeed. So now we can increase the game speed to a moderate. Don't worry about the other train, it's a double track stretch, so it shouldn't. It's driving straight through, but it doesn't count. So it should probably go to a slightly faster display. 1,000 for 1 passenger. Hooray! The more service you provide, I'm fairly sure I didn't mention that before. The more services you provide to a town will encourage it to increase in size. So you can technically take a small village and eventually help. You have no, it's not that 1 carload delivered will automatically increase the size of it, but it will encourage growth. I don't know how much of a factor, but very busy stations can definitely contribute a deciding factor in increasing the size of a town. So that earned us a bit of money, which is always nice. You can see the border around Durham. It's white. That means you are earning double. The grey one means it's normal profit, and red one for Union Station is a red border, which is half profit. So 222 patency locomotive introduced bigger, better, and faster. 30 miles an hour with 1 train, 25 with 2, or 1 car, 25 with 2. What we want to do now is we want to upgrade all our trains as quick as we possibly can. So, you, engine, replace engine. Off you go. You. Replace engine. Off you go. And finally, you. You don't automatically want to do that, but because this is a faster locomotive, you definitely want to, on your passenger trains, do something to, because they're speed sensitive. The faster you deliver them, the more you earn. So, yeah, okay. He's not looking too good. Go away. Go away. New speed record. When train sets a new speed record, they will potentially have the option to be named. People find named trains fancy. They are willing to pay, I think it's 10% more revenue to be on a popular train. So, the Durham Rocket will now, from passengers, earn 10% more revenue, which is always nice. Another thing I should mention about these boxes is you can see the green in the bottom of them. That is an indication of the profit that station is making. So let's see what it did this time. Oh, stock rises again. 70,000 shares outstanding. We have 40,000. The 10,000 we sold to Durham was added to the available stock, as I was saying. Oh, and one of our competitors dissolved because he went bankrupt. But in rugby, Robert Stevenson, one of the driving factors in having or getting, go away. The railroads, even railways, whatever, invented. So he's probably a builder. He will probably expand as much as he can without necessarily tossing around with the stock market. But let us look for further expansion, because you always want to try and expand. Darlington is actually busy. I want to show something here. You can improve any station. The engine shop is to produce new locomotives. Switching yard, if you have trains switching consistently, pun intended, that will cut the time it takes in half. Maintenance shop maintains the trains. If they go without maintenance, they will start becoming unreliable and can break down. And of course, as the trains get older, it becomes more and more expensive to maintain them. If you have a train not getting maintenance, bad things will happen. The engine shop works as a maintenance shop as well. So as long as a train is passing through a station with an engine shop, it's getting maintenance done to it. Cold storage, it will prevent meats and things like that from being picked up by other services, which I'm fairly sure I mentioned, because you can actually store them. So if you're never picking up whatever cargo it is, it will not stay there indefinitely, but you can help delay the time for it in case you are building towards a station where you can suddenly deliver said cargo. The same goes for livestock pens and goods storage. Post office, restaurant, and hotel. Post office will increase the revenue earned from mail, and restaurant and hotel will increase the revenue you earn from passengers. If you have very busy stations, something like a restaurant is not a bad idea, and you get a nice little animation of the cafe being built. So, again, it's just a small thing, but it adds up over time. So this video has been going on more than long enough, so I just want to say a few final words. Well, it's probably going to be more than a few, but there's going to be no more gameplay, so if you don't care about what I have to say, you are free to cut at this point. This version of Railroad Tycoon comes from a PC version, which of course was made before this version. You could not buy a PC without a hard drive. Everyone knew that. If you bought a PC, you got a hard drive. So software developers for PC could easily put out a game on 10 disks. I'm not saying that's the case for Railroad Tycoon, but they could because people would install it on hard drives anyway. It wouldn't matter. It would be a nuisance for the installing, but then it would be on the hard drive. Who cares? That wasn't the case on the Amiga. Most Amiga users were aged between 12 and 17 years old. That was just a majority. That was just the way it was. They didn't have the income to go out and buy a hard drive because the hard drives available were prohibitively expensive. I bought GBP hard drives for the 500s that I used hard drives on, and a great value product hard drive was super high quality, but it was also £500. Considering the fact that you paid £500 for the computer itself, why would anyone want to pay the same price as they paid for their computer in order to have a hard drive, which wasn't supported anyway? Can you see where this is going? It's becoming the start of a circle. No one has hard drives, so the software is not being developed to support hard drives, and no one buys hard drives because the software is not demanding it. Yeah. When I switched to PC because I had no choice, well, it was PC or consoles, and I'm not much of a console player, so PC it was. When LucasArts released Full Throttle, I was sitting with a 4 megabyte PC, and that game required 8 megs of RAM. They didn't offer me a 4 megabyte version. They didn't offer me compatibility with a 286. No. If you want to play our game, you upgrade to 8 megs, which I did because the game is brilliant. It's short, it's sweet, but it's a brilliant game. So I upgraded my PC. There was never that encouragement on the Amiga. There was never any software, well, late on, but far too late for its matter, where the software developers saying, well, if you want to play this game, upgrade your computer. And I don't know whether Commodore actively did anything to try and encourage it, but as a user, it never felt like Commodore was putting effort into making extra hardware accessible for the majority of their customer base. The reason I'm saying that is because of the fact that Railroad Tycoon, I love the game. I like the Amiga version more than I like the PC version, mainly because of sound, and mainly because I find that early PC graphics tended to look a bit washed out. Railroad Tycoon Amiga is not exactly the most beautiful game ever devised, but it's serviceable for what it needs to do, and in that regard, it's perfectly acceptable. But because this game had to be compatible with an Amiga 500 and 1 megs of RAM, it is a slightly reduced version, meaning that you run into caps with trains and stations. If you don't own the manual, which of course you should, because I mean, we are not naughty people, we bought our games, didn't we? You'll be informed of set restrictions. But let us just assume that you, for some reason, lost your manual in the post, even though the rest of the box, or at least the discs, arrived. Let's just pretend that. And you were sitting there playing and happily expanding, and then suddenly, sorry, we can't build any more stations, sorry, we can't build any more trains, and then you felt gimped. If you were sitting with a 68 or 3050 megahertz system with hard drive and 2 megs of extra RAM, you would feel even more gimped because you basically had the same performance as the PC the game was originally made for. Yeah, it's always been a pain point. The software was not developed that required the hardware, and the hardware wasn't selling because the software wasn't made that required the hardware. That circle. I know it's pointless to be bothered by, but as a user who spent a lot of money upgrading my systems, not because I was hoping, praying that some game or some whatever came around that would require my 60 to 40 megahertz. I just liked doing it. I liked having an Amiga that was fast. I liked having a hard drive. I liked having the extra memory. But precious the few games ever utilized it. And that is the only downside I will say about this game, or this specific version of this game, is the fact that because of the fact that they constantly made games, not just Microprose, it was everyone. It was for a long time backwards compatible with the humble Amiga 500. You never will felt your hardware being challenged. Could have been, should have been, absolutely pointless, but it is a pain point for me, and it's always been a pain point for me. So, on that note, this video has been quite long, and it will be split, I can tell. I hope you found it somewhat informative, somewhat enjoyable. If you have had any encouragement to play a little Tycoon, hopefully I've explained more than enough to get you going. If you happen to never have owned an Amiga in your life and you're sitting with an emulator and thinking this game looks fun, you know what? The more eyes on these games, the better. This is a precious time for some of us of a slightly older generation, and if we have, for me personally, that's one of the reasons I have the channel going, is if I can get someone of a younger nature's eyes on some of the old games and maybe even find that they find some of those games interesting, then my channel has served its purpose. And for those of course that remember those games, it's hopefully is an enjoyable little look back at yesteryear. Because even though this technology these games are made on is by today's standards horribly outdated. Computers like the Commodore 64, like the Amstrad, like the Spectrum, like the Amiga, like the Atari, they were the foundation for the gaming we know today. It was an important stepping stone at one point or another in development and advancement in graphics, sound, and games in general. On that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.